All right, this video is about the Big 20 quizzes we get in class. We're going over problems that happen here. The Big 20 quiz is one where the questions are always the same, just different numbers. And on number 12, number 12 question is always going to be asking you to round to the nearest whole number. And in this case, we have one that says 7 and 7/13. Now, the way to do this, the hard way, would be to actually convert the 7/13 to a decimal, where you would do 13 goes into 7, and it goes into 7 0 times. So we put a decimal point here and put a 0 in here. 13 goes into 70. Let's see, I think that would be 5 times, because 5 times 12 is 65 times 13 is 65, so I'd have 65 here, which I would then subtract. All right, so now I subtract the 75 from that, and I get 5. I'm not finished because I don't have a 0 remainder, so I bring down the 0 here, put a 0 in, bring it down. 13 goes into 50. 4 times would be too much, so I'm thinking 3 times, if I can get the number 3 written there. That would give me a 39. When I subtract that, I end up with 11, which is less than 13, so I do have the right number there, and I put a 0 here. Now, I don't really have to go any further than this, because I'm not looking for the decimal equivalent. I'm just looking to figure out whether I'm rounding to the nearest whole number. Right now, at this point, I know that this is the decimal, this is the whole, so as a decimal, this would be 7.53. Since this is greater than or equal to 5, I'm going to end up rounding up. So my whole number is 8. So rounding to the nearest whole number, that would be 8. Now, there is a quicker way. If you take the denominator, 13, and you divide by 2, which most people should be able to divide these numbers by 2 in their head. Half of 12 is 6, so half of 13 would be 6.5, right? 6.5. So if the number on top of the fraction is greater than or equal to the 6.5, you're going to round up. Since 7 is greater than 6.5, we are going to round the 7, and we're going to round this up to the 8. So as long as the numerator is greater than or equal to half of the denominator, you round up. If it's less than half the denominator, you would round down.
That's easier.
So that's the quicker way of getting the round to the nearest whole number when you've got a fraction there. Now, question number 10 on the Big 20 is always going to be a percent of a number. There may also be a dollar sign involved on that, so the units may pop in there as well, which makes it more of a real-world situation when you include the money there. Well, let's take a look at this one. Let's say they have the dollar sign on this, the 5.5% of 970. To do this, you first need to convert the percent to a decimal. And please excuse my handwriting here. None of these styluses really work all that great for that. And then multiply that by the number. So for this one, we would convert 5.5% to a decimal by dividing it by what? Anybody? 100. And to convert percent to a decimal, we divide by 100, which is just going to be moving the decimal 2 places to the left, putting in a placeholder 0. And I always work with a placeholder 0 and the whole number. This way, if my decimal doesn't show up very well, when you see that extra 0 on the outside, it kind of indicates there should be something there. So you want to make sure that you work with that placeholder 0 there. So I've got 0.055, and I'm going to be multiplying that by the number, which is 970. So to do that without the calculator, I put the 970 there, 550.0, multiply it like that. All right, now I do 5 times 0 is 0, 5 times 7 is 35, put the 5 here, carry the 3. 5 times 9 is 45, plus 3 gives me a 48. And then I put a placeholder 0 in. 5 times 0 is 0. 5 times 7 is 35. Oh, let's carry the 3. It's really going to be that same 485. Hopefully we can see that there. And then we add these together and we get 0, 5, 13. Carry the 1. We get 13. So we get 53350. For there, we need to know where to put the decimal point now. Going back to the multiplying, I see 1, 2, 3 decimal places in our multiplying problem. So I need to move the decimal point over 1, 2, 3 in our answer, which gives me a 53.350. Now, I would accept this as an answer, but there would be an issue with it on this one. It would lose a point because you forgot to put the dollar sign. If there was no dollar sign here, then this would be perfect there. With the dollar sign, you do need to drop this extra 0. Now, normally I say don't round on these because you should work it all the way out. But when we've got an answer with money, money should be rounded to the nearest cent every time. So the final answer on this one is $53.35. And that's what the final answer would be there. 2. The one we had on our actual quiz was 8% of 790, which should be 0.08 times 790. And when you multiply that out, I'm going to say I'm not going to do the long division on that, you end up with 63.2. And if this did have the dollar sign there, you would have to put the dollar sign and a placeholder 0 here, because with money you should always have to the nearest cent. Number 16 on the Big 20 is always going to be a dividing of mixed numbers. And when you divide mixed numbers, don't try and break it up. Do not convert to decimals with it. It'll take you too long by hand. Really, the best way to do this is to start off by converting them to improper fractions, which would be multiplying the bottom by the whole number and adding it to the top. So I have 2 times 7 is 14, plus 5 gives me a 19 over 7. Then I would do 6 times 4 plus 3. 6 times 4 is 24, plus 3 is 27 over 4. Now, you never actually divide fractions. Yeah, you may have heard about keep it, change it, flip it. You keep the 19/7, you change division to multiplication, and you flip the second fraction. So it looks like this now. And then when you multiply fractions, it's top times the top, bottom times the bottom, or numerator and denominator, the real words there. 19 times 4 is 40 plus 36, which would be 76. 7 times 27, 140, and 49 is 189. So that's the fraction we end up with, which is not too pretty. The only thing I can think, it looks like there might be, does 3 go in? No, 3 doesn't. I'm thinking, let's see, the factors of 76, does 4 goes into 76, but I don't think it goes into 89. 3 goes into 76. No, it doesn't evenly. That might be the final answer of 76 and 189. Without wasting too much class now, you can keep checking for factors. For check factors, the smaller number first. There's probably less of them. I know 2 is not going to go into 189. I know 4 does go into 76, but I'm pretty sure that's not going to go into 189 because that's not even. Can you check the answer key on that one and let me know? The answer key is on the back of that. Do we have 76 over 189 as the answer? Yeah, so that cannot be reduced any further. 76 over 189 is the final answer on that one. All right. Okay, a lot of people had number 8 wrong on the Big 20. Number 8 is one of those that it is a lot easier than people are making it out to be, and some people are making it too easy. This is an exponent. It is not saying multiply by 2. It is saying multiply the number by itself. So this becomes 4/5 times 4/5, which would be the top times the top over the bottom times the bottom. 4 times 4 is going to give me 16. 5 times 5 gives me 25. Then you would reduce this fraction, but that is as simplified as this gets. There are no common factors between 16 and 25. So if I have something like 2/3 squared, this would become 2 times 2 over 3 times 3, which is 4/9. That's the answer. I do not want decimal answers for this question on the Big 20. Do not convert it to a decimal. Do not try and work it out as decimals and then go back. This really is not that bad working out in the fraction form here. There was the number 11, I'm sorry, not number 11, number 9 on the test also has a square in it. In this case, we had a 1.3 squared. A lot of people were giving an answer of 2.6. Again, this is an exponent, not a multiply. So this is the same as saying 1.3 times 1.3, which if you set that up the long way here, 3 times 3 is 9, 3 times 1 is 3, put a 0 here, we get 1 times 13 is 13, add those up, I get 169. There are 2 decimal places in this multiplying, so I need to move the decimal over 2 for the answer. That works out to be 1.69 for the answer on number 9. Do not round. If this happens to be 3 decimal places, leave it 3 decimal places. Don't round to the nearest hundredth on that.